Hello, everybody. Good morning, good afternoon, perhaps even good evening, depending on where you are. Good to see everybody. I am shocked. My co-presenter and I, which I will introduce you to him in just a second, we're just looking at the attendee list and it is growing rapidly. So we have a huge group today and it's exciting. So it's good to see you all. We've got over 125 in right now, more joining as I speak. So this is fantastic. Excited to see you all, and super excited that you guys have chosen to join this session with us and participate. My name is Tiffany Bachmeyer. I lead the manufacturing consulting team for the Americas for Autodesk. But today I am wearing my subject matter expert hat around AutoCAD Electrical. Perhaps some of you have taken classes from me at AU, or maybe perhaps even seen them online in consumption afterwards. It's obviously a huge passion of mine. I celebrate AutoCAD Electrical. And I am joined by my esteemed colleague, Matt Durst, who is a vault expert and also rapidly becoming an electrical expert. So, which is great because we typically get to cover a lot of other topics too here, a lot of the connected workflows between electrical and vault. So thanks for joining me, Matt. And if you want to say anything, feel
Yeah,
free.
thanks, Tiffany. Excited to be here. Tiffany and I run these once a month, it seems like. So we're seeing the attendee list grow from month to month. So it's really cool to see, more participation in these and people being more involved and collaborating together, because this is really what it is. It's a user group, right? So we're all together in this. So it's kind of great to see everybody, and yeah, looking forward to what today's session brings.
And on that, perfect segue, Matt, we will just open it up. So for those of you who have never joined before, which I'm guessing there are probably quite a few of you since we've seen such a big list here, the way we do these is typically, sometimes I present in them. Oftentimes there is something that I'm doing where I'm presenting a workflow or something else. But in fact, last month, if you didn't catch it, I actually did a what's new out of 2021, so that we could take a look at some of the new things within 2021. And the month before that, we actually went into a working session within Mural to actually see what kind of features and functions you guys would really want to see out of 2022. And we're sharing that back with the product team, and it's really exciting to be able to have that influence. So this user group is really impactful on even the influence it can give in the software package too. So excited about that and excited about your contributions. But what I'm starting to say, and typically with this amount of people, I'm assuming it's probably going to be a strong need. Typically when we've seen these kind of numbers, we get jam-packed with questions, which is awesome. We're going to have today be a Q&A session. So that's often what we do here. Even if I were to do a quick demo, really the open time for this user group is to talk amongst other users about questions you have, thoughts you have, perhaps even share out workflows that you have that are working. We're always happy to do that. It's more often than not answering questions, but we're always happy to even have that if you have share outs that you want to give on something that's a workflow maybe you developed or something that you are really finding to be impactful for you as you use AutoCAD Electrical. So on that note, we use the question pane of GoToWebinar, so please feel free to start adding your questions in right now as we're doing this intro, and we will just start rapid firing through them. And that's the beauty of this, is that we can do that as a team. Matt is here. The reason why we're teamed up together is so that we can help cover those together with me. It started really as him kind of doing that for me to watch that question pane as I was answering other things. And now we've started to get such an influx of vault questions too that we tag team with each other to do this, which is exciting. So no questions are off the table when it comes to that. Beginner, intermediate, advanced, and like I said, again, electrical and vault are open on the table here. So I'm not seeing anything quite yet in the question pane. Unless Matt, you're seeing something I'm not.
No, nothing yet. Oh, looks like we just had one come in from Tony. Tony's asking, do you offer online training for AutoCAD?
So I don't personally anymore. I used to. I manage a team of people now, so that part of it does not really happen as much. We typically lean on our partners. So we have many partners in our Autodesk network that will offer those kinds of training sessions. So yep, there are many partners that will offer AutoCAD Electrical training, online and remote, or online and in person when we can all be in person again. But yeah, most of our partners do that.
Yep.
Depending on
And
where, oh, and just a quick note on that, depending on where you are, Tony, if you want to message us separately, or I can make sure that just from this question pane, we get our team to respond back to you on if you don't have a partner already and who maybe the closest partner to you would be, or who might be a good partner to go with. We can help you with that on the back end. So.
yeah, and Tiffany, I think a common question a lot of people asking is the recording or of our previous sessions available online somewhere or YouTube?
They are. So the same, that's a great question. The same location where you went to register for this particular webinar is also the landing page for all of the recorded webinars. So when you go there and it asks you if you want to register, you can also choose to look at other previously recorded sessions. And we've actually been doing these for almost 3 years now, Matt. How many years has it been?
Yeah, I think it's been almost 3. Yeah,
Yeah. So
3.
there's a lot of recordings of it. And one that I don't do as often anymore, but I used to do one on the first Thursday of every single month. It was a demo webinar. So I would actually demonstrate all of the advancement in productivity that you can have with AutoCAD Electrical. So I'd go over the key highlights of some of the key features and what makes electrical so impactful and such a productivity gain. And those are all recorded and out there. We just didn't feel like, we had probably 2.5 years worth of those, and they were fairly similar, maybe slight twist or difference month after month, but for the most part, all the same. So just something you can watch definitely to check out what those offerings are. And there is a plethora of AU online classes around different topics. Matt and I have actually team taught together around Vault and Electrical. And actually Inventor, that what we call the EMX workflow. There is also, I have sessions on getting started, so beginner basics from AU online. We also have automation basics that have been done out there. I mean, I typically speak at every AU, so there's a lot of, and so do colleagues of mine that are also electrical experts. So there's a lot of info out there. Implementation is a big topic. What's the best way to implement, how to use it? That's a big reason why we talk about Vault. Those are all different training classes out there. If you're searching for online free content, they're all out there.
Yeah, Tiffany, the questions are rolling in, so if we're ready to get
I'm
started,
ready. Yep.
we're just going to dive right in. So let's go to Paul. What is the best way to pull a bomb from a panel drawing?
Great question. So let me get my screen shared now. And Matt, it looks like they actually fixed the thing this month where I don't have to make myself a presenter. I'm just automatically one. That's exciting. Good deal. Go to webinar. We're
Yeah,
cleaning
that's
stuff
nice.
up. All right. Are you seeing my screen, Matt? My AutoCAD Electrical?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Looks good.
Good deal. All right. So on that note, Paul, and thank you for the question. So there's a couple different ways that we can actually run bill of materials. So to answer your specific question, we'll do that first. So if you go to the reports tab of the ribbon, in here we can actually choose between schematic reports and panel reports. Now, both have a very similar interface and very similar look and feel to them. The difference is what report options there are. Now you can run a bill of material just on the schematic, so that is an option inside the schematic version as well. But if you wanted to do one just on the panel, you could do that here. Now, if you wanted to also have it include everything, so this is the full, including any schematic components not referenced in your panel layout, you would check mark this, and this is what I always tell people whenever I am in training classes. This is the key to your BOM. This is what would go into your ERP system. So you can then export this. We have 5 different file formats, and you can export that into any format that you need to be able to consume into your ERP system. So it shouldn't have to be duplicate work for you to actually do your purchasing. This is where you would actually do that. So this is how it's run. So as long as you have, and notice I'm not even on a panel drawing right now. It doesn't matter. I don't need to be, because I'm going to say I'm going to do this project wide. And if I didn't want to include schematic components not referenced in the panel layout, we could do that. I could remove that and just look at a panel bill of material. You have different tallying formats. You can choose whether or not you're including terminal numbers. There's a lot of different options in here. But once you hit OK, and we always hit, so remember, project wide just means more than one drawing. It means more than your active drawing. So you can choose even if you want to just pull from specific drawings. But I'm going to say do all. And what it's going to do is it's going to run through my entire list and it's going to populate this bill of material. Now there's a lot of things I can do from here, right? I can edit this, if there's missing something, I would question why you're manually editing it. It really should go back into the drawing set so it's always clean, but you can add from catalog right here if you needed to throw something quickly on there. You can also go into changing your report format. So you can look at what all the different fields are that it could pull from. You can create the different columns of what you actually want to have it report on. You can change the title of what those are. So, for instance, tags is really the device ID. So if you wanted to change this to saying device ID, you can do just that. It'll still pull the right tag. It's now updating that in the report. And then I have options for how I actually consume that report. So am I going to put it on the drawing as a table? And this is going to be very large because it's the entire project to put it on this one, which already has things on it. So I'm just going to scoot off to the side here and do it here. The ghosting just shows you where it might go. It goes away as soon as you place your first one. So once it goes in, and I'll show you what it looks like in a second. My other option is to save it to a file. And here are the 5 different file formats I was mentioning. So we have ASCII, Excel, Access, XML, and CSV. So many different ways that you can consume this data. And then when you close it and you zoom out, obviously that ghosting of where that report is gone. But you can see that this is what it pulls together. And every report we have super customizable. Just go to the report that is the closest to what you need. Do not feel like you are limited by what it initially gives you as a default. Every one of these is customizable, and every one of them you can save them. When you save that format, it's called a set file. And that's actually what fuels our automatic reports. I know I'm giving you a little bit more than what you asked, Paul, but just to share this out with everybody, once you create all of those set files, you can actually define a grouped collaboration between all the different reports that you need. So maybe it's a bill of material and a wire from to list and a wire label and maybe a nameplate report. Maybe those 4 reports you do in every project. Well, you can add each one of them in here, regardless of whether or not it goes onto a table on the drawing or a file output. And when you build that up after you have those standard set files in place, you can just run this with every project you have, and it will just create all of those in exactly the format that you have defined. So it's an exciting thing to build up your standard report so that you can do this automation with it too. Hope that answered your question, Paul, and thank you for the question.
All right, great. Janine asks, do you offer Revit training specifically for electrical, or is that the same as what you were saying as AutoCAD Electrical, or it is the partners that offer that?
So Janine, I would definitely want to dig in and more and ask you why you might be looking at using electrical with Revit. I love the package, nothing against it, but I also know when to not necessarily push for it. And typically in a Revit connected situation is when I would typically say electrical is probably not going to give you what you want. I would more likely steer you towards either AutoCAD MEP, which includes, obviously the E of MEP is electrical, or the Revit MEP tools. More likely than not, that's probably going to give you more of what you want, and it will give you that interconnectability between Revit and that full BIM workflow. Electrical just doesn't typically play a part in that. It's really much more for controls design. There's a specific utility aspect of it. If you add the utility suite to it, but I don't normally encourage it in a AEC situation. Obviously, there can be exceptions to that rule, so I'd probably want to dig in more with you just to find out. But yeah, training wise on anything that you would want on that same training, there's not that I know of anybody who's doing AutoCAD Electrical to Revit training. So if you did want to move on with using electrical, it would just be taking the basic training class around electrical and then understanding all of its capabilities and applying that to what your use case is for it. But I would probably encourage you to start exploring perhaps the electrical options within our MEP tools just to see if that might fulfill your needs more. Something to think about.
All right. Adam asks, he's a part of a group that's looking to help take their electrical group really kind of to the next set, right? Take advantage of some of the modern tool sets in CAD.
Sure.
So right now they're stuck using vanilla AutoCAD. What would you suggest to help his company take the first steps into using a 3D electrical workflow? Currently, they work specifically in the petrochemical industry.
Okay. It's a great question, and kudos to you, Adam, for steering your company that direction, because it's a great charge to have, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing to do. So really, I mean, even in this might be the first steps towards it, because it won't make them feel incredibly uncomfortable, because it's not. This isn't the 3D step yet. The 3D would be then taking your schematics into Inventor, and then using Inventor to do the 3D aspects of your, whether it's panel design or whatever your final layout, because we use panel loosely. Panel just means physical representation of whatever you're creating your schematics on. So while it very well could be an enclosure panel, it as well could be, you know, I came from conveyor design before I ever became a consultant. It could be a conveyor, and where you actually want to lay out all of your electrical components along that conveyor, you know, and so there you're definitely in your mechanicals, and you need to be in that 3D environment so you can see where all of those are. Perhaps it's electrical to a car, or interiors, or things like that. Like, there's lots of different aspects of what that could look like. So, you know, the stepping stone would perhaps be to get them into electrical first, get them comfortable feeling that they're still in their happy environment of vanilla AutoCAD. I'm a huge vanilla AutoCAD fan too. I started on R10. I know that dates me, but I'm a huge fan. It's my favorite software. But that could kind of be the gateway then to getting them to see that connection that they can then make into the 3D world, and getting them used to bringing the rest of that design and being able to actually do automatic wire routing and things like that in Inventor. I mean, that would give them the excitement. Couple recommendations: I would maybe go back and look at some of my boosting your productivity with AutoCAD Electrical webinars. Those will give them just a 1 hour intro to all the great things they can do, and they'll see. I talk a lot in there. My main focus area is vanilla AutoCAD users to electrical, so I focus a lot on, you know, if you're doing XYZ in AutoCAD, look at what you would get to do in electrical, and it's going to take you a fraction of the time, you know, 1 minute to an hour versus, you know, you're doing it in vanilla AutoCAD for an hour. So in seeing that automation and all the things that AutoCAD Electrical can do, I think would really help you take that first stepping stone. So that would be my advice. Also explore the EMX, you know, maybe give them a taste of the EMX. We've done some webinars on it. Those are recorded too. And there are multiple AU classes from both last year and the year before on that EMX. That's what we call it. So you'll be able to find it that way, or otherwise known as electromechanical workflow between Inventor and AutoCAD Electrical. So you can see the 3D aspect too. Great question.
Yeah. Okay, so Mike asked, does AutoCAD Electrical integrate with Inforce Sightline products? Did a little bit of searching on that just to see if I could pull anything up.
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, you can see our full, I mean, that's not a manufacturer that I know of that's in our library, but keep in mind that anything that you see in our library, the library is 100% customizable. So if I were to go to my catalog browser right now, and you know, you search by devices. So these are different tabs basically in a Microsoft Access database. There's also a global search though that you could look up here, but it's by type of component. But I know even if I do the global search, I'm not going to see that particular manufacturer. But you can always. So I'm just going to do a. I'm just going to search all Allen Bradley control relays. When you get in here, if you were to not find what you needed, all you have to do, and you don't even have to be highlighted on something. This is basically like editing live. It's pretty exciting. You'll get a new line in the spreadsheet. Basically, you hit this little pencil button, and you can add. So this is in edit mode now. So I can edit any one of these. So I can make them whatever I want, or I can come down here and type in a new and is it I was just trying to copy what you wrote. And then, you know, whatever. This is a new components. So you can add those very easily in here, and you fill out all the different descriptions and values in here. So that includes, you know, depending on the type of symbol it is, there are different column values. Like obviously this is for control relays, so you get the coil, the contact information. You even get assembly codes that you may want to add to this if you're tying it to other things. And then user fields, for any of you that don't know this, just because I'm in here, I'll show it to everybody. The user fields are for you to use for whatever you need. Typically what you see user one get used for the most is for your own company number. So if you have your own part numbers that you tie as a company to manufacturer part numbers, you would put that number in here. And you can actually rearrange these columns and you can drag them. So you could actually be searching on that field instead of searching on the main manufacturer number. So all good things. And then you can even add web links to the cut sheets for any of these things as you do it. I'm not going to actually save this because I added that random part number in there, but you can do that. It's fully editable. So even if it doesn't exist now, you can easily add it in if you needed it. Now, if you're looking for the symbol itself, like a particular block to be inserted in that, our symbol libraries are based off of the main codes for all of the different types that we have. So we have multiple different industry standards. So between NFPA and IEEE for the US, and then we have IEC for obviously international standard, and we have the Japanese, Chinese, and Australian standards as well. So all of those symbols are standard symbols in the schematics. And then if the manufacturers have provided the blocks to us, we have those as well in the footprint where they're the actual, so the symbols, as you know, the schematic symbols are just representation. So any mushroom push button would look the same on here, depending on whether or not it's normally open or normally closed. But then as we get into that specific manufacturer's version of it, it's going to have its specific shape and size, and that's what we actually typically insert into the panel if you're doing it in 2D. And those symbols, it's very easy to add to those too. You can add new blocks, you can incorporate those in. So hopefully that helps answer your question, but unfortunately, that's not a manufacturer that's a part of it today, but doesn't mean you can't easily add it if you needed to.
All right, great. Next question from Aaron Banks. Is it possible to auto-generate PID loop drawings from a database? I'm a rookie and I'm being asked from my employer to see how efficient we can be with AutoCAD Electrical.
It's a really good question. So first, let's tackle the first part for anybody on here that didn't know you could do this. With AutoCAD Electrical, we have what we call peer drawings and peer devices. So what ships with the software is not just all of those symbol libraries I just told you about. There's also symbol libraries for pneumatic, hydraulic, and P&ID symbols. So we do have the symbols in here for P. You can go into each one of these. These are all obviously main column headers, and then you can go in, and there's even more categories underneath all these for even additional symbols. So there's lots of symbols in here for P&ID. So you can absolutely do P&ID drawings within electrical. So that's step one of that question. The automation side of it. So one of my favorite things about AutoCAD Electrical is actually this PLC IO utility. And what this utility allows us to do is from a spreadsheet, it will actually build and draw all of your drawings needed from that. Now it's specifically designed around PLCs. However, and I feel like I'm promoting AU online right now. It's funny, it's just the matter of the discussion. I'm not actually trying to do that, but it is a great wealth of knowledge and resource area. In one of my AU classes in the past, I actually did it with a customer that we did this with. We actually bent the PLC IO utility to actually drawing all of their schematics from a spreadsheet. And so there's ways to like fake out the system where you're basically putting blank PLCs in. They're not there, they don't exist on the drawing, but you utilize that utility for automation to have it automatically create any drawing that you want. It's a very interesting use case for it to get that early automation, and it's definitely been something we've requested, not specifically around P&IDs, but just around automation in general from the product team to dig in to ask them more about what we might be able to do around automation. So it's definitely something that's being looked at, but this can automate many drawings, so it's pretty exciting.
All right, great, Tiffany. We have a question from Anil kindly review coming changes if time allows. So anything maybe additional for the future releases that you know about that might be big.
I don't know about future releases yet. Obviously, we're in early stages. In fact, a little fun discussion. I actually have a meeting with the product team next week, so I'll be sharing even more of some of the things we did in our session 2 months ago on what they might want to do in 2022 release. But I don't know. I don't know of anything yet. If you go back and watch last month, though, you'll see everything that just came out with this 2021 release. So there's some new things here. The global search, what I just showed you guys in the catalog browser, was probably my biggest, most exciting thing. That is a big deal. So any of you who don't know that that happened in 2021, back in 2014 version, we had a very different interface. It was not nearly as search friendly. So it was not a Google search. It looked more like a spreadsheet, more like the editing mode looked like. And you had to search per column. So you had to actually type into each one of those columns and search. But the one thing that that thing had is it had a global catalog search. So up in the upper right hand corner, you could actually just type in a number and find it in any category. You didn't have to be in a specific category to find it. And it was a big top topic on our Autodesk, our AutoCAD Electrical Ideas Station. And they actually took that for this release from the Ideas Station because it got so many kudos. Kudos are the little thumbs ups in our Ideas Station that so many people wanted it that they got that back in. So in 2015, just a history lesson here, in 2015 version, we got the new search capabilities and the new interface for it, which is awesome. I would never want to go back. But when that happened, that global search just kind of fell off. And so it was such a hot topic that it is back and it is in this new interface, and it's really exciting to have that global search. So for any of you that didn't join last month, that is probably one of my top exciting things that came to the software this year. There's a lot of other updates too, so you can check it out. We went through them all in the last session.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, the last session was what's new
Mm-hmm.
for AutoCAD. Cool. Um, Gary asked, in previous companies for who I have worked, libraries and setting pathways for multiple users was done by others. Now he is that person
Got
and he
it.
needs to set a network-based location for saving circuits.
Okay. I would actually challenge you. You probably need a network saving area for all things, not just for saving circuits if you've got multiple users. So this is a really, really good topic, and thank you, Gary, for asking it. You know, one of the top things, obviously, I'm in a very C drive setup because I'm not sharing with anybody else. But one of our top topics that we get, and this is honestly where Matt comes into a lot of these discussions too, that we get is how do I set up AutoCAD Electrical to point to a shared network location or something else, right? And that something else is Vault, but I'll get there in a second. So if you don't do anything, if you just install electrical out of the box, all of our symbol libraries, catalog databases, icon menus, all of that is going to go directly to your C drive, logically, right? It's just going to install right on the computer that you have. During the install process, there's actually, and if I can pull it up fast enough, I'll pull up my installation guide because I always like to show this when I'm doing this. During that installation, what you get is an option if you expand it to choose where you want your connected files to be. So do you want to put them on a shared network drive? How do you want to do it? I always encourage everybody to do it from there because doing it manually, you can do it manually after you've installed. The lift on it and the maintenance on it is bigger than if you do it just from the onset of installing. And if you say, well, I've already installed it on these computers, it's not that hard to uninstall and reinstall. And I would redo it, build a deployment around it, which is very easy to do, and have it pre-set up to have all of those things shared out so that everybody gets access to the same files. You don't have to make sure that everyone's, so that the file I'm talking about that you can do manually is an environment file, but that environment file is a text file that includes a lot of typing, a lot of manual effort to get that into like a shared area. And I just think it opens you more up for fat fingering challenges, and now you've got to get everybody's environment file replaced with that one and repointed to the other things. I really like the clean setup of doing it from a deployment. So that's normally what I encourage, and I'll just really quickly, I thought I could get to this faster than I am. I should always have this open because I feel like this particular question comes up quite a bit. I don't have installation screenshots for 2021 right now, but I'll just show you what the 2019 looks like here. So when you first get in here, if you and I know this looks like it's from Product Design Suite, but look at that specifically, we're looking at AutoCAD Electrical 2019. So if you look at where you can choose what manufacturers you want, and this is what I was saying when I was searching for those manufacturers, you know, this is just, you're only seeing the beginning of the alphabet here. There's a huge list to scroll, but I always select all. I know it says not recommended. That's typically just so that you don't have a huge hard drive hit to how many manufacturers would come into it. I always select all because I want everything, obviously, when I'm in a demonstration mode all the time. But if you keep scrolling, and these are just shots, so they're not actually the window, but you can see down here that it says define a location for your data. And so the default is this C drive users and then me to the documents. You would instead choose whatever your network installation path is. Now, flip side, and by the way, there's 2 spaces for this. So you would also come down and choose the symbol libraries that you want, and then you'd also put that same path, or perhaps one slightly different path with a different folder underneath it in there. But that's the key to this. Is also where you choose, if you guys have never seen this, where you choose which manufacturers, like I showed you above, and which symbol libraries you actually want to include. So important that you always expand this. Going back into electrical. The other topic though that I get a lot is people saying, well, I want the flexibility of having it locally, but I want to make sure that I'm not duplicating data that 10 other people that I'm working with are also potentially building. And the perfect blend of that is doing something in a data management type setting. Now, Vault is our data management package. It's also the most robust for working with AutoCAD Electrical. And this is not a sales pitch. This is an explanation, because I've worked with tons of customers that use electrical with many different data management packages. And I can tell you in all of my years of doing this that in looking at the other data management packages that people have had, when they say they support AutoCAD Electrical, what that means is they understand there is a project file that they need to maintain that then has drawings underneath it that connect to that project file, which is fine. But what that limits you to is you can only check out the entire project. And any of you that are active electrical users will know this, that one of the big benefits to AutoCAD Electrical is the ability to have multiple people work in the project at the same time. So I might be working on drawing 4, Matt might be working on drawing 6, and we can both be working in it. And even if I have updates that something on drawing 4 actually will update on drawing 6, it will save that data and it will be able to update that as soon as that particular file is available to me again. But you know, if I have an update on drawing 3 and neither one of us is in it, AutoCAD Electrical is just going to automatically update drawing 3 and go back to drawing 4, and it's going to be able to handle it fine. The beauty of Vault, our data management package, is that it allows still for that. So it will automatically check in and check out those drawings as needed without causing any issues, and it will allow both of us, or 10 of us, to all be in that same project working. And that's typically not the same to other data management packages. But outside of that discussion around it, what a data management package would allow you to do, so that what I just described is the most basic way of using data management with electrical. The better way, I think, the secondary step, is to actually vault everything. So vault your symbol libraries, vault all of your catalog database, your icon menus, all of the support files for electrical. So then they're all shared. And then when we do what's called a get, and you bring things down to your local computer, you can work locally, but you're always going back to the main master area. And if you're a larger group that perhaps is only going to have certain people be allowed to be what I call librarians, where they could create custom symbols, add to the catalog database, all of that, then you can also put, you know, user specifics on those, where certain people have editing capability, others just have the ability to consume those files. And now you've got a really, really tight management system that also allows all the flexibility to have everybody working off the same files. At a much more basic level that wouldn't involve all of the backup of data management things that Vault can do for you. You could also achieve this a bit with a RoboCopy or another third-party replicator. If you just cared about keeping it locally and also having it on a shared network drive. But that really limits you on the rest of the benefits that you might get out of data management. But you could do that too, where you just have that set up to a network drive, and then it copies back down to someone's user drive.
Yeah,
So long
that's a great.
explanation, but hopefully that helped everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that was a great explanation, Tiffany. And yeah, that was a great question. We cover that one quite a bit. So let's see. Dan asks, is there a location, a forum, or a website for National Instruments blocks? It seems that NI does not have them that you know of.
Really?
Yeah.
So I would typically say go to the manufacturer themselves, because they are the ones who typically own that. And if they provide us with that data, that's what gets incorporated into the software. We don't build it. We lean on the manufacturers to actually provide. So we get manufacturers all the time that call us and say, how much does it cost to be a part of AutoCAD Electrical? Newsflash, it does not actually cost anything. We just say, wow, we would love to have your products in here, as long as you follow these guidelines, as long as they're how they built their symbols and things like that follow all the right guidelines, we add it to the product. And that's the beauty of all of this. So if they don't have it on their website, I don't have an answer for you on where another spot might be to find that. I apologize. Typically I say go right to the manufacturer. So
Okay, I'm gonna give this a shot. It looks like Andrew's actually had his hand raised for 33 minutes. So and looks like Andrew just put his hand down. I'm gonna go ahead and
Oh.
unmute your line, Andrew, if you had a question.
No, sorry, I accidentally raised my hand.
Oh.
Okay, no worries.
Well, good to talk to you, Andrew. Then it's good to hear from you.
Thanks, you guys are doing great.
Oh, thank you.
Okay, let's see. So Mike asks, he's new to AutoCAD. What is the purpose of vertical and horizontal schematic block configurations? Why does this matter when creating a block?
Great question, Mike. So, Mike, I'm going to guess you are perhaps in the US. You can answer me yes or no on that one. So for most of us out of the US, we are used to seeing a ladder orientation be just like this in this horizontal format that you're looking at for me, where the bus lines are vertical, but our rung lines are horizontal, which would mean our symbols are the horizontal versions of those symbols. And what that means is they attach to wires coming in from the left or the right. They do not attach from top to bottom. Our terminals are different. Our terminals have connection points around all 4 quadrants of them. That's a story and a topic for another time. But the reason why we ask that is because of the orientation of those. That also happens to be how you read the description text on them. So it's not the same as just rotating the symbol, because if I were to just rotate this control relay, all of my text wouldn't go with it. It wouldn't make sense if I was trying to attach it from top and bottom. Also, how our wires connect, because of the automatic connecting capabilities of electrical, it's not just a connection point of using like an object snap to get to the quadrant. It knows that it should consume a wire and break it at this point if the wire is coming in from the left, and same thing with the right, where there's a different code structure to the top and the bottom. So there is differences, and it understands what it should do when it consumes a wire, and how it breaks that wire and how it gets attached to that wire. So that's really the difference. Now, the explanation of the US part of what I was asking is, we have, obviously in the IEC format, for anybody on here that perhaps is joining us from EMEA, you see in that international format, more often than not, you will actually see this in the turned form. So your ladders are now what we call vertical, where the bus lines are horizontal, but the rungs are vertical. So the whole orientation of your drawing package is flipped from what you're seeing on mine. And that's really the reason for those 2 different symbol types, is for vertical symbols versus horizontal. You can also see in some cases, I don't know if I have one on this drawing, sometimes I have them. If you needed to insert a symbol for whatever reason, like right on a bus line, that's going to attach vertically, not horizontally. So it could still apply even outside of US versus international standards, but those are the reasons. That's why we have the horizontal and vertical versions.
All right. Another question. Stan asks, can you make a panel and then create a schematic from that?
Yeah, Absolutely. So AutoCAD Electrical works bi-directionally. So oftentimes, especially in all of my teaching years, I would always teach typically schematic to panel, but I would always say if you work instead panel to schematic, that is totally fine. AutoCAD Electrical does that too. The best way is once you get one done, you can actually, so for instance, if I were to start with the schematic, when I go into the panel, my insertion area is not going to go so much from an icon menu, but I'm going to do it instead from a schematic list. And then what that will do is it will populate a list of every single component that I currently have in the schematics. And it will allow me to insert their matching components in the panel. So, I can insert all these motors, all these pressure switches, all these limit switches, all these, everything that I've put into the schematics, I can then connect, and they're now connected. And the beauty of that is you don't have to manually do it. You don't have to, if you edit it in one place, it edits in all places that it's connected. So that's the beauty of this. And the exact same thing would work if you inserted in the panel first. So if you went to the panel first and then you were going to the schematic, you can say, I want to create a panel list. And this will instead do exactly the same thing you just saw, where you then concatenate all the panel components and then insert them into the schematics. So absolutely, we work bi-directionally. Not a problem there. You can go whichever direction you want.
All right, Tiffany. Craig asks, we currently have to export the bill of material into an Excel file, run a macro to do a lookup in the spreadsheet to get the description. We currently have about 1,500 parts and descriptions that we would like to add to the catalog. Is there a more efficient way to do this?
Where I'm looking for Craig's comment. I'm trying to search through this too, just so that I could see if there was anything extra. Is there, what is the format that you have your other stuff as? Is it in Excel already? Is it in an Access database? Like, what is the, we currently have to export the BOM to an Excel file.
And Craig, if you do have a microphone, we can go ahead and unmute your line and maybe you can clarify a few things. Craig, you're unmuted.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yeah, we have it in Excel. Our purchasing system, generally they put together a quote and it becomes a job, and then they adjust the bill of materials and then export that. Well, many times we've got hundreds and hundreds of Allen Bradley parts that don't show in the catalog.
Oh.
What shows in the AutoCAD Electrical catalog is mostly old stuff. There's not a lot of current stuff. You guys could do a better job of pushing the manufacturers to.
Funny you should say that. We are working with Rockwell very closely, and they actually want to get that updated too. So good call out, and they are yes, they are working.
Management on my back trying to get me to go to ePlan, which is a nightmare. It's like no. No, I've got 20 years worth of AutoCAD files that I can pull in and update to AutoCAD Electrical.
Exactly.
So our big thing with bill of materials is trying to get all these parts from our purchasing system into the catalog. You can edit it in Access, but it only, what they say is you can only use the old 2007 version because the AutoCAD catalog database is based on Access 2007, not the current version. Otherwise, I'd go in there and add them all.
Yeah, I would have to test that. I've never actually heard that limitation, and definitely not all the way back to 2007. So I'd have to ask the product team if that is a limitation, because I would say just go into Access. That's exactly what I was going to suggest you to do.
Yeah, I talked to some of the AutoCAD Elite people online, and they said, no, don't do that. You need to use an older version that's compatible. So it'd be nice if I could just take that spreadsheet and paste it into that catalog,
Which you should be able to do. I mean, that's typically what I encourage. I mean, you can look for repetition.
Multiple records?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, okay. Well, then that would be a huge improvement because you couldn't do that in the old one. You had to go one at a time.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. I don't. Yeah, okay. I've done this. Gosh, and I did it. It's been quite a few years now since I helped another customer do this, and we actually did it because we wanted to do a compare of what existed and what didn't, because it was also like just updating even other catalog entries, but maybe adding additional, like a user one field into it. And we concatenated all that data between two spreadsheets. We did an export out of their SAP, and then we looked at the Access database, and then we did that compare, and then we just merged all of it into one another. So I know it can be done in multiples.
that's
We
what
did
I
it
would like to
super fast, but I've not heard the limitation that you're hearing. I'd have to check with the product team on that. So I will see if
Yeah.
I can get that answer and perhaps email you on the backside of this.
I would appreciate it.
Okay, sounds good. It's a good question.
So we've been using AutoCAD Electrical for 10 years, and then along the way, I'm the CAD manager, by the way. So along the way, we've been
Excellent.
implementing one new feature here and there, and we're just getting to the point where we're starting to use bill of materials. We'd like to have them on all of our projects, but right
Yes.
now it's too much extra work. And
Wow.
then the
So
next
you've been
thing
using
we're,
electrical for all this time, but not utilizing the bill of materials?
yeah, we've been using, not actually putting bill of materials in the drawings, but we were getting more requests from customers.
Okay.
And our shop would like that, so that it would make it a little easier for them,
Of
because we've got
course.
purchasing system and things are changing. So that's
How did you do your
kind of
panel side of it then without the manufacturers? Like how did you know what the right blocks for the right shapes and sizes and everything were?
we generally got a bill of material that's coming out of a purchasing system. We just look to see, do we have it? You know, it's the Allen Bradley VFD. So
Okay.
we've got footprints that we've accumulated. We probably have
Okay.
between 5 and 10,000 footprint files that we've accumulated.
Got it.
Because they don't supply them. So we go out and get them and make them, and one or two on each panel, and a few thousand panels a year. So
Sure.
we,
So you've just built up a library of them, but you don't worry. The reason I ask that is because for anybody on the call that doesn't know this, as soon as you add a part number to say a schematic symbol, and you're doing the schematic to panel workflow, as soon as you go to insert that in the panel, it automatically parses a footprint database looking for that
right, that's the
manufacturer
other
number to
part
then
we would like
insert
to.
automatically. Yes,
Yes,
exactly.
that's
So
the
that's
other
why I was
part we
curious.
would
How
like
are you
to add.
doing it? Okay.
Link those parts to the footprints. So,
Exactly.
in older releases, we actually started, the first version was 2007, was
Okay.
really hard to work with. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's been, I started on 04, so I know.
Yeah. Well, I actually started on AutoCAD 2.1, so that makes me look old, I guess.
Hey, I said R10 and I said the same thing, so I feel you, but 2.1, that is awesome.
Oh, I remember 10. That was a great version, actually.
It was.
So, yeah, if you get an answer to that, email me, because
Okay.
I've got some specific questions and some specific problems, because we do, like, 5 years ago, we did the largest ice cream plant in the world, and it was 300 control panels. And
Wow. That's awesome.
yeah, 300 control panels, 22 MCCs, and about another 125 or 150 Aussie junction panels and
Yep.
whatever. So, and that was
Wow.
all done in AutoCAD Electrical with 5 people. And we did it in 18 months. So it was insanity. But without AutoCAD Electrical, we could never have done it.
That is an
So when you
awesome
talk about,
testimonial. I love it.
well, and you talk about the working on the network and shared files, we actually work in a shared network area where the projects are kept.
Okay.
So that we can have anybody jump to it if somebody's sick or somebody else.
Exactly.
And we've had at times actually 3 people working on one project at the same time in different drawings.
Perfect. That's exactly what I was talking about.
We don't use Bolt. We actually use a different document management, but it's aware if you try to edit something and it needs to update that drawing, it'll ask you to check it out, and we check it out.
Good. That's actually the first I've heard of a different one. In all the ones that I've tested, which have been many, I could give you a list, but
Synergist Adept.
Oh, good to know. That's really good to know. Okay.
So it's pretty good. I mean, it could be better. The downside, if you want to feed back to Autodesk, downside for Vault is it's a proprietary format. Once it's in there, it's not accessible by anything else. Okay.
not accessible by anything else.
If I put in 10,000 drawings
Mm-hmm.
and I decided I was going to use a different document management, how do you get them out? It's not easy. Okay. Somebody literally has to write a script. So we did this. So we're kind of, at some point we might change to Volt, but right now, not so much.
Matt, do you have any thoughts on that?
Volt has improved a lot in the last few years, but when we first looked at it, it was like, yeah, this is not going to work, guys. It's good for small companies or single users, but it wasn't going to do the thing for a group of 5 people editing hundreds of drawings a week.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because it's really, we use it in our large enterprise customers that are globally spread out. So it's really interesting to hear you that point of view. It's an interesting thing to take back and
yeah, well, those are part of the thing, is accessing and customers accessing those drawings and all those other things. And at the time, Vault didn't have the capabilities to do that without somebody helping it. So the decision was made, but it's not a permanent decision because it's all still on the network somewhere.
Right.
So in that project we were talking about, we use something that hardly anybody has ever heard of. That's a feature of AutoCAD Electrical, is each panel uses its own panel number, like M33.
Yep.
Okay. So we use section, sheet, and row for our numbering.
Oh yeah.
Okay?
Yep.
So there's very few people that know how to do that, but it actually works quite effectively.
I always taught that in all of my classes, just for anybody who did want to use it. But that's interesting. That's good. Good. Perhaps you could give us a demo someday of the things that you are doing there. That could be exciting.
Yeah, maybe. I'm due to retire at the end of the year, so we'll see.
Oh,
better catch
well,
me quick.
Congrats to you. That's exciting.
I've been here 20 years with my company, so.
Good for you.
All right, well, if you find out that information, I would really be interested.
Sounds good, Craig. Thank you so much, and thank you for the question. We'll definitely respond back. Sure.
Yeah, the one thing that I could say is that we could never keep up with the workload with as few people as we have without using AutoCAD Electrical. And if you're not using it, you're crazy.
That is great to hear. Thank you. That is good. That's a good testimonial. Thank you.
All right.
We're gonna put that quote on our website there, Craig.
Exactly.
Okay.
I love it.
You're crazy. Craig said so.
Yeah, well, we take 5 people and we were supporting 20 to 30 engineers, and we've got 4 people now, and we're supporting 75 or 80 engineers.
That's awesome.
And
wow, that's awesome.
2.5 times more projects. So
wow,
that's quite a savings.
That's huge.
Okay, let's see if we can get to maybe a couple more questions here with the time that we have left.
Yep.
But again, thank you, Craig. And okay, let's go to Donald. So we are using 2 user fields for SCCR rating and torque. How can we change the BOM headers across our company?
Perfect. So that was exactly what, and maybe Donald, you got this in while I was still answering this in an earlier question, but just in case you didn't, that was exactly what I was talking about in the report format. So when you go into running a bill of material, while we spin, my share, I think, is slowing me down here. That was exactly what I was saying in the change report format, where I changed the tag to device ID. That's exactly what you could do. So if you said, I want user 1 to come over here, and I want user 1 to become, what did you call it? Yeah, so interesting that you're using that for ratings, because we have a ratings column and a ratings field, and it actually ties to, it'll fill in automatically into the component. So maybe something to look at there, because we do have a rating section. But the torque, absolutely, you could put that into, I chose ratings, but I just changed rating user 1 to ratings, and it'll come in right there. And you can obviously, drag and drop these in whichever order you want, but that's how you change it. And then when you go to build your reports, those will be in the new column headers. So it's very easy to do. It's right here in change report format. Good
so
question.
Tiffany, this one might be related a little bit here. So Thomas asks, is there a way to show the AIC rating on the panel schedule for both minimum fully rated CB AIC and minimum series rated CB AIC?
I mean, that would really be you choosing to go into a component and adding additional fields to have those shown in there. It could be related in the sense that you can actually use one of the, let's see, you can tie in the, yeah, it's not gonna show me, I have to go into edit mode. There's something called there's a field inside of here called text value, and you can tie text value. You can write in here that you want, I don't know if any of the ones in this particular search have it, where you can say, you know, I want ratings to equal X. So every time you use this particular part number, it will automatically fill out the ratings attribute with whatever you have tied from the manufacturer number that you had. So that's the ability to tie that to the ratings attributes. And then that you can pull that data to, obviously, on a in any of those BOM reports or anything like that. So you could have, you know, if you had two attributes out there for those two different ratings, and then you wanted to tie that in here and tell the text value to insert both rating equals this and equals this, you could do that and have that automatically populate that. Good question.
All right, Tiffany, we might have a good one here for you. So Darian asks, can you spread a cable across two sheets? For example, a valve has two discrete inputs on a DI card and one discrete output on a DO card, but in one cable.
Yep, absolutely, Darren. So that is, and it doesn't matter whether it's a cable or just an individual wire, because we treat them similarly. I mean, cables get cable ID so that you know that they're a cable. But when we draw them, especially for what fans out to maybe what you're going to be doing across the different sheets, those are going to probably get individual wires that come out of that fan out. So either way, we have what is called a source and destination arrow. And when you insert those, so this is the source arrow right here. When you insert a source arrow, it would look like this. So you insert this right here, and it's going to tell you this is going to line 420. And then, and obviously this is on the same page, but if I were to come up here to 420, and it's actually this one, it would say where it's coming from, and this is the destination arrow. So same thing. Oh, this one's not a good example because this one stops, but this one came from, let's see, let's go. Let's show a drawing that's going to send them to multiple sheets. So these are all going to different sheets. So this is, I'm on drawing, am I just on 3? No, I'm on, yeah. So this is going to different areas, and that you can see that this one's going to page 4 on line 402. So this is how you would do it across multiple pages. So you can send these all over the place. So absolutely, that's the whole point of the source and destination, is to be able to have that carry through across your whole project. I mean, technically, the wiring for this particular project starts right here. This is the main breaker, and everything fans out from there. So these go across multiple pages, and then they fan down. I mean, you can absolutely do that. So a single wire can span many, many pages, all with source and destination.
Awesome.
That's a good question. Do you think we can do something in 2 minutes, Matt? I don't know.
Yeah, let's look at maybe one here. So generating the BOM is the result. Where does the data for the BOM get pulled from?
So the BOM data comes specifically out of the components, but the components get their data from you editing them in there. So for instance, if I were to place, and I'll just randomly place a component here. If I were to grab a push button, and I'll just pop one in here. When I fill this out, so I can give it description text, I can give it all that. But when I come in to do the catalog data, I would come in and do a lookup, and this is going to give me the catalog browser. So the same thing I was showing you in that other screen. But inside of here, you know, I can search on whatever catalog I'm looking for. Obviously, this is pre-populated with this particular search that I had in here from before. But I can grab a part number and pop it in, and that part number comes in, as well as any other information that might come with it. Like for instance, on these control relays, the pin values and like what their normally open, normally closed settings are, all would come into. And then as soon as you hit OK on that, when you go run a BOM, the BOM sees what catalog information is there, and then it pulls the rest of that description text and data from the catalog database. So all of that is connected. It's catalog database to what is specifically in those devices.
All
Good
right, perfect.
question.
Yeah, so we do have more questions in the question pane, but I think what we'll do, what we've done in the past is we can export these and we can save them for the next session.
Yep.
Or any other additional sessions that we do. And so if you can join those future sessions, then, you know, hopefully we can get to those questions at that time.
And if there's anything we see in there that's a specific ask or a question around linkage or data that we can get you to, we'll try to have the team get those out to you guys as well. So, and obviously I know that I've got a follow up for Craig too. So we will look into that.
Yep.
All right, you guys, thank you so much for all of your questions, all of your time, for spending this hour with Matt and I. Matt, thank you as always for keeping me on task. I always appreciate it. And I look forward to talking to you all next month.
Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye.